So it's been quite a while since I've done a rod review, but I have a good one for you guys. Introducing the Angel Wing by Ace Hawk. Now if the brand Ace Hawk sounds vaguely familiar to you, it might be because you've seen my video on the Ace Hawk CU Double bait finesse rod, which in my opinion is still the best all-around BFS rod for casting ultralight lures regardless of the price. So how did I happen to stumble upon the Angel Wing rod? Well, that's because the owner of Ace Hawk, Thomas, sent me an email a few months ago, I believe back in September, and he told me that he had designed a brand new rod and he wanted to know if I wanted to do a review on it. Now, just to let you guys know, I get offers from companies wanting to send me items, several times a week, and I don't just automatically say send it out to me. I actually ask for a link where I can look at all the details and specifications and pictures of the product and determine if I'm interested in doing a review on it. And I do it based on if it be something that I personally would be interested in, or if it's something I think my viewers would be interested in. And I believe this rod right here is definitely something a lot of you guys will be interested in, particularly us American anglers. So what about this rod is so special that I wanted to do a review on it? Well, according to Thomas, who designed the rod, as you can see, he told me that this rod was specifically designed for bass fishing and that he used a blank that a popular JDM company uses in their rods. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of that company, but I will tell you this: after using this rod for a few months, it is definitely made for bass fishing. Now, as of today, the price on the Angel Wing, I believe, is something like $58 on Ace Hawk's store on Aliexpress. And I'm going to leave a link in the comments that'll take you right to the store if you're interested in buying one. Now, the first thing we're going to do is let's look at the styling of this rod. This is a very, very elegant, good-looking rod. As you can see, it's obviously black, silver with champagne gold trim. It's got, of course, a split grip. And let's take a look at this forenut here. It's machined aluminum. It's got some writing there. I guess it says, Ace Hawk Productions. And of course, it's knurled for grip, but it's got this band of material around it to kind of break that up. And it feels like suede, but I seriously doubt it's suede, so it's some kind of a very soft, velvety material that's held up being soft for the past few months. And got more gold trim there. And then here's your butt section. You got some nice trim there. And then, of course, you have your obligatory end cap there. So yeah, this is a very, very elegant, clean JDM-esque design, and it's more along the lines of Evergreen instead of Megabass, where it is very clean and understated, but it looks high-end at the same time. So it definitely looks like a much more expensive rod than its price point. In fact, if you slap the high-end JDM brand name on here and went around and showed it to everybody, they definitely wouldn't question you. So a very, very nice looking rod. Looks a lot more expensive than its actual price point. So before we get into the performance review, let's just go over the basic specs and show you what you get for your money. Now, obviously you see it's a two-piece rod, and it comes in two sizes right now in both casting and spinning. Now, I opted for the 7-foot medium heavy, and it also comes in a 6'6" medium heavy, and they're all two-piece. You can see the lure rating here: 5 grams to 18 grams, 6 to 15 pounds. Now, more on this lure rating later. Now, according to Ace Hawk's information, I believe the blank is like a blend or a combination of 30 and 40 ton graphite. It's going to be sporting, I guess, a brand of guys called C-Night, but the inserts are supposed to be ceramic or silicon carbide. So that's usually material reserved for super high-end rods. But you get 6 guides with this angel wing, and you get a total of 10 guides including the tip on this 7-foot medium heavy. Now, I'm not sure how many guides are on the 6-foot, but on the 7-foot it is 10 plus the tip. Now all the way up to the first guide, you're going to get this Shimano High Power X Style X Wrap, but it doesn't go all the way up to the tip, which I'm not sure why. But as you can see here, the raw unfinished blank, you'll see that there is a nice tight carbon weave there. So this is definitely a high-end blank. Now, sporting a Fuji ECS style reel seat that is very comfortable, and you can see this exposed section here. And what's great about this is I don't believe this is a tube where the blank passes through. I think this is actually the rod blank itself, because as you can see, it is the same width as the rod blank right there. So normally the tube that's in the reel seat is bigger than the actual rod blank itself, but on this angel wing, I believe this is the rod blank. And let's check out the cork on this rod. Now, it's not the best in the world, but for the price, it's actually pretty good. And last but not least, you get a very nice rod bag right here. And this is a very nice combination of, I guess, neoprene and nylon, and it's very, very thick. So this is not one of those cheap nylon throwaway bags that you'll get with your usual AliExpress rod. This is actually a very quality rod bag. Now, when I put the two pieces of this rod together, held it, and gave it a good shake, I noticed two things immediately right off the bat. Now, the first thing was that this rod is very, very stiff. In fact, when I shake it, I don't feel that the blank is flexing at all. Now, the second thing, that it is very stiff, but it's also crispy as well. Now, I rate crispy as being a stiff rod, but yet hollow feeling. Now, this thing is not the lightest rod in the world, but it's not the heaviest either. But I will say that if you don't have a reel mounted on it, it will feel a little tip heavy. But once you do mount a reel on it, it does balance out nicely. Now, ASOC states that this rod has a fast action or fast taper, but in my opinion, it's more of an extra fast. Now, a lot of rod companies will put very soft, flexible tips on their extra fast taper rods to give it better castability, but not this one. Hopefully you guys can see that, but yeah, when you bend this tip, it goes all the way back to, I guess, the 4th guide or 5th guide. But yeah, if you're looking for a very soft, noodly tip, then this rod is not for you. But in my opinion, that is a plus. Now, I fished this rod on and off all fall and winter and this spring, and I paired it up with only 2 reels. The first one being the new LEWS Speed Spool LFS, and then a budget AliExpress reel, which I'm going to be doing a review on later. Now, let's get to the first part of the performance review, and that is going to be casting. Now, as I stated before, this rod is super stiff. So if you are the kind of person that likes, you know, more moderate actions for casting duties, then you're not going to like this rod. But I will say that I was skeptical of the lower end of the lure rating of 5 grams. And in American terms, that's 3/16 of an ounce. But when I paired this rod up with the LEWS Speed Spool, I was able to chuck a 1/4 ounce square bill easily a good distance, probably at least 100 foot or more. And I feel that this rod is closer to heavy than medium heavy, or I guess one of the more heavier powered medium heavies, because I was able to cast, you know, a 5/8 ounce chatterbait and the rod didn't feel overpowered at all. And in fact, in my mind, the high end of the lure rating of 18 grams is a little low, and it looks like Ace Hawk confirmed it on the website, saying that that should be 21 grams, which is 3/4 of an ounce. I feel it can actually go a little bit higher than that, but I didn't do a lot of casting and retrieving techniques with this rod. But I will say that I'm the kind of person who likes fast action rods for casting, and for 1/2 ounce and up, this rod can really sling lures out there. So now it's time to talk about this rod's strength, and that is fishing bottom contact baits. Now if you take a look at the handle section of this rod, you will see the words "Next Generation Sensitive" printed there. Now that's a pretty bold statement to print on a rod, much less a $58 rod from Aliexpress. So the question is, does it live up to those words? And I'm gonna say yes. Now of course this rod is not LOOMIS NRX sensitive, but for a $58 rod, it has the sensitivity of at least a $200 rod. Now, how do I come to that conclusion? Well, this rod feels more sensitive than my first generation Shimano Zodius 7'2" heavy, and it feels at least as sensitive than that of the 6'6" medium that I had. And of course, both of those rods cost $200 plus. Now, when you are dragging and hopping a bottom contact lure like a Ned rig, a Jika rig, or whatever rig, the sensations that come through the rod are very decisive and sharp. And it has that nice little reverberation coming through that's lacking in a lot of rods. For example, my 7'2" heavy Zodius. So you can definitely tell the difference between hitting rock versus wood, or dragging your bait through mud versus algae. So it's got a very lively feeling to it. Now the majority of my fishing with this rod was during the winter, and it was colder than average this year, and a lot of times I was fishing in mid to high 30-degree weather. It's the type of cold where your fingers go numb, and I had to basically fish with one hand on the rod and one hand in my pocket to keep it warm, and then I will alternate hands. But even in this finger numbing cold, I was still easily able to feel what was going on at the end of my line, and easily feel these fish strike my Ned rig. Now the great thing about this rod as well is that once the fish has the lure in its mouth, you definitely knew it, so you knew when to set the hook. So basically you weren't guessing whether the bass had the lure or not, you knew. Now this is something that the similarly priced Shimano STELLAs didn't have. Now here's the thing. When the rod was paired up with the LEWS speed spool, it was very sensitive. But when I paired it up with this budget Aliexpress reel, the sensitivity actually went up a level. I'll explain it more when I do my full review of that reel in the future. So yeah, all in all, a very sensitive rod given its price point. The information coming through is very sharp and precise and lively. And it was more than sensitive enough for me to detect these bites fishing in 30-degree weather with numb fingers. So let's talk about the one thing that I personally feel needs improvement on this Angel Wing, and this is something I have relayed to Thomas already, and that is I feel that the handle section on this 7-foot long model is a little short. I personally think it needs about another inch added to the end of it. Now whether that means you have to make the blank 7 foot 1 inches long, or keep it at 7 foot and just take that extra inch from the tip and just move everything up, I definitely feel it needs a longer handle. So right now what you see with the Ace Hawk Angel Wing is the Shimano Bantam 6'8" medium, and this 6'8" actually has a longer handle than the 7-foot Angel Wing. I know it's kind of hard to see with this camera that I have, but yeah, if you can take a look, the end of the reel seat, or the back of the reel, is actually further up on the Bantam than it is on the Angel Wing, despite the rod being 4 inches shorter. And I'll switch positions there. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. Now, just to clarify, this is a personal preference, but let me explain what I mean by it needs about another inch on the end, at least for me. Now, I have longer than average arms, so when I stand straight up and down and let my arms hang straight down, my fingertips are only just a few inches from my knees, so I barely just have to lean over and I can scratch my kneecaps. So if you have average to short arms, this probably may not be an issue for you. But for me, my arms are too long to be able to comfortably tuck the rod butt between my arm and my torso to set the hook. But I will say this, since the Angel Wing is so stiff, the hook setting power on this rod is immense. A lot of times all I had to do was just lift the rod straight up, and it was more than enough power to bury even small Ned rig hooks into a bass's bony jaw. So when I think of rods in the $50 to $60 price range, I usually think Walmart. I think rods that have softer composite blanks that focus on durability and not sensitivity. I think of rods with lower end components and loud colors in order to get your attention when you're walking past them at Walmart. Now the Angel Wing is none of those things. For one, once again, it's got that sharp, classy JDM styling that you're not going to see at Walmart. It's got the high-spec graphite blank, and more importantly, the surprisingly lively sensitivity of a $200+ rod. Now I actually have two rods right now that are in the same price range as the Angel Wing. One of them is that new Berkeley Lightning rod, the one with the plastic reel seat, which I'm still testing right now. And then of course the Shimano CELLIS, which I've already done a review on, if you want to go check that out. And while those rods have softer blanks that load up lures a lot easier for casting the moving baits, they are definitely below the Angel Wing when it comes to sensitivity and just fishing bottom contact lures in general, especially that CELLIS. So to wrap this video up, I can definitely highly recommend this Angel Wing for anyone who wants a very sensitive, high performance bottom contact rod, no matter the price. But it's definitely going to benefit those who want a rod with high dollar sensitivity, but they only have a Walmart budget. But also for those guys who have, you know, your NRXs, your X Prides, etc., etc. Keep in mind, this is a two-piece rod that costs under 60 bucks. So this is something that you can definitely keep in your back seat for those occasions when you may be driving through an area and you see a juicy looking fishing spot and you just want to pull over and fish. In fact, when I drive up north to Michigan to visit family, I see places like this all over the place. Places you can just pull up to and just start fishing. And that's what I'm going to do with the Angel Wing. I'm going to keep it in my back seat unassembled with the reel already mounted and ready to go for such occasions. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this somewhat long-term review of the Ace Hawk Angel Wing. And if you want to buy this rod, there's going to be a link directly to Ace Hawk's store on Aliexpress pinned in the comment section. Alright guys, thanks a lot.